That's where I am.
Well, hello and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show. And I'm delighted that my very special guest today is the wonderful Peter Straker. How are you, Peter?
I live.
I
I'm thrilled to say I live.
You more than live. In fact, we're neighbours because you're not too far from me in Regent's Park, are you?
No, I'm not. Yes, because I'm up Lisson Grove and you're down. But yes, we're sort of sandwiched between.
We're sort of there. You've got that wonderful fish and chip shop, which should be open again fairly soon, near Lisson Grove.
Burned down some years ago, but that's right.
We used to have the happy memories. I've forgotten what life was like BC before Corona.
Yes.
I think the last time I saw you, actually, we were having another place which has gone as well. We were having a dinner with Lee John in Joe Allen's.
Joe Allen's, yes. I don't think Joe Allen's gone though. It's closed. It's closed at the moment.
Yes.
And they didn't bother to reopen or any time or any of that. That's right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I love Joe Allen's. So we've done all the ads for everybody now.
I know and those sort of things. You must be missing performing though, aren't you? How's it all been for you?
It's been like most other people, a nightmare. It's been a nightmare. But I don't know. You just have to embrace it. There's nothing you can do. It's pointless fighting. It's pointless getting too upset or anything. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. But what's really interesting, a lot of people have been reinventing themselves. I mean, you've re-released a lot, which I think is brilliant. You've re-released some fantastic stuff. Late Night Taxi Dancer, which I love, has had a new injection. It's sort of one of those tunes that just keeps going on in your head, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Mike Allison wrote it, and I recorded it years ago in the 70s.
Yeah.
Under the aegis of, I did it with Rocket Records, and they played it quite a lot. Kenny Everett used to play it. Do you remember Kenny Everett?
Of course, everybody remembers Kenny Everett. Wonderful, wonderful.
I loved him. He was a dear friend, and he loved that song. And it was nearly a hit. And because we put out the 3 albums, this one's on me for the 3-album set on Cherry Red. I said just before Christmas, I said, oh look, let's keep promoting the album, so let's do another version of Late Night Taxi Dancer. So Mike said yes, and so we did it, and we did it, some of it here in my flat with Dylan Wynne Davis, who does all sort of my sound stuff when I'm away from the studio, and we sort of did, and through the miracle of technology, which I know nothing about, but which I embrace speedily if somebody else knows what they're doing. Yeah. And we did it, and they talked about doing it in time for the summer, and I said, listen, it's Christmas, let's just do it now. We don't need a Christmas song. So that's what we did it, and it's been on the chart now for 8-9 weeks.
Oh, fantastic. And it's got that sort of wonderful Erasure sort of Andy Bell sound about it as well. How did that come about?
So they tell me, I don't know, because I know Andy very well. I don't sing like him at all, but it's just one of those things. And Mike put together a very good electronic track, and he built some of the track around my voice after I did the rough vocals, and we came back and we did it, and I love it. I love it. It's just something you think, oh, good, thank you.
No, it's wonderful. And what's interesting, I've heard some extraordinary interviews that you've done around the world. There's a particular Italian one, which is almost like a parody, a sort of Kenny Everett parody. That was glorious. But what I loved about that interview, you were explaining some of the background to Late Night Taxi Dancer, and you were sort of saying it might have been the precursor to lap dancing. I don't know if that's true, but tell me about the story.
The Taxi Dancer, she was famous in America in before the war, actually, in the 30s, or probably before that, and especially on the West Coast. And girls or women would come in, and they would men would say they wanted to have a dance with her, and it was all very proper and things, and you danced, but this was, and you got your chit of paper and you got it, and she came and danced with you, and then that was it, and she danced with the next man or the next whoever. So, and that's how it is. Very simple. It's a very simple premise.
And wonderful. And then the principle for the taxi dancer then, is that simply you've got your chit, you have a journey for a little while, it's just one song, and then you move on to the next one?
Yes, yeah. That was the idea. God knows how they might have changed it, because if you're making a lot of money, things change, don't they?
Oh, well, yes, I guess you get more demanding as to what you want with your dance. I think you work on that sort of.
Yes.
And the video itself, I mean, I recognize some of the scenes near Regent's Park. Where did you shoot the video?
No, the original video was shot down in Surrey, actually, with Mark Anthony Abel, who did the original one with the Triumph. Is it the Triumph?
Yes, I saw that.
Which we did that in Surrey, and that was before Christmas, I think.
Okay.
And it was quite cold, as you could see. It was chilly. That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
And it was a bit misty, but it's beautiful. And so we did that there, and that we did that mostly in the car because it was too cold for me to go out. And then the lovely lady, I can't remember her name now, who played the girl, she was the one that was really cold because she was dressed in her flimsy dress and running through a field of water almost because it was wet and rainy. But it was a good day. We had a really good day doing it. We had I did it 2 or 3 days, and then she came down for the Sunday, and it was really cold, but it was good. We enjoyed it. It was good.
But you can have those wonderful shoots. I would have thought, it looked like Regent's Park, I thought you could have done it there. Didn't know to go down to Surrey.
We could have, where Mark Anthony lives down there.
Oh,
and
okay.
basically, he was also that we could use the cars backwards and forwards because there weren't too many cars on the road, and there weren't too many people. So that was the reason.
It's a great car as well. Whose car is it?
It's Crystal's car, who helps me as well and does some bits and pieces. And he just said, I said, can we use your car and his girlfriend's car? He said, yes, we did. So we went down together, and in without the hood on, it was quite chilly, but it was all right. It was all right. It was very pleasant. It was a good day. It was a day. It was a day like today, cold but lovely.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Well, it's a great track and a great video to go with it. But you yourself, I mean, you were born in Jamaica.
Yes.
They always say, show me a child until the age of 7 and I'll show you the man. Talk to me about your early days in Jamaica. What were they like?
The bits I can remember, I was very young. I came to England when I was about 10 or 11. It seemed to be all right. They were all right. Open spaces, wonderful beaches, like everything. It's just sun, sea, and sand. That's all I can remember. And going to school there, I can remember a little bit of that. And going between Kingston and Montego Bay, really, a lot of the time, with my family and with my brothers. I got 2 brothers and my grandmother. And yeah, Jamaica was Jamaica, and it was great. And I loved it. It was great fun. I have been back. I've been back a few times, but not as many as I'd like to.
Right. And a musical family? Many people musical?
My mother was a leader singer. So she studied leader here. She studied in New York as well. And she's a very good singer. I think what happens when you have 3 children and you get divorced and you're bringing up 3 boys, things have to change unless you become very famous. And so I asked her actually, I said, why did you, she didn't give up singing. She said, well, I just have to look after you all. So she got a job as a teacher, and she became a teacher of music in a school in Tottenham. Yes. Yeah. So I'm very hot because my flat is over hot. So excuse me.
Well, that's all right. It's the excitement of being on the Andrew Eborn show. I know what a thrill it can be. It does get very warm, doesn't it? Nippy outside, but good here. So it is. I mean, coming from that musical family, what did you learn an instrument when you were growing up? No,
I didn't. The only thing I found is I could sing.
Right.
And when we can all sing. My brothers can sing as well. But what we found, we were just with a lot of the classical stuff that my mother was doing and things, we sung the men's parts and we did certain things and we did all works together. I think at one stage when we were very young, at the beginning of our teens, we used to go locally and sing at people's birthday parties and things. The 3 of us would harmonize. Not for very long we did this, I have to say. It would be great to say that we did it because it becomes a very romantic idea. Look at the 3 boys doing this. No, but we used to go and do certain things, and we used to sing at church and stuff like that up in, because we lived in Palmer's Green. And so, yeah, but so it was lovely.
And you get, as you say, it would have been a lovely romantic notion that you get the 3 brothers in the same way as you get the Bee Gees. You could have done that. It would have been sensational.
Yes, well, it wasn't. because we didn't do it.
Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
Well, no, because if they hear it, they will just think, what the? No.
So you then came over at the age of 10, obviously a big musical influence with your mother. Talk me about from your career then, because moving all the way forward, it wasn't until 1968 that you became that big role in the original production of Hair, where you play Hud. Tell me about the period before you get into Hair.
Well, I just went to school here. I went to school in Chalk Farm in Hampstead, Haverstock, a big comprehensive school. And I traveled from Palmer's Green, took nearly an hour every day. You could those days, you didn't have to get in a car. I went on the bus, went on the train, changed trains and things. So that's how, and so I went to school and became house swimming captain and stuff like that. I did all of that, everything children did. And so, and that was my schooling. And then after that, we decided to go to, I wanted to be an actor. I desperately wanted to be an actor and didn't know what to do. I was suggested that I go to drama school. My mother knew somebody who knew one of the top agents in London. And I went to see her when I was very young, I think 19 or something, and she said I wanted to be an actor. And she said, well, why don't you go to drama school? And I said, I don't need to go to drama school. I know that I can act. That is the vanity of youth. Please. And anyway, she introduced me to a chap that had just joined her, a young guy as well, in the office called David DeYoung. And she said, look, I think David and you should, anyway, so David was going to look after. Anyway, out of it, I then went on, I worked very briefly at the Ministry of Defense for a brief period of time. I did some stuff at Tower Hamlets for a charity because my mother insisted that we went to sit at home and not do anything. Couldn't have that, none of that. Proper Jamaican family, and my grandmother was the same. So there was no slacking. And I met up with some musicians and things, and one guy who was a drummer in a band, and he just said, I think I can get you some work up. My wife and I, we live in Nottingham, and he was not that much older than me either. I mean, we're all young. And so I decamped to Nottingham and started to do working men's clubs. He got me gigs in working men's clubs. And I just got my sheet music from Tin Pan Alley, Denmark Street, as I remember, and started to sing songs like, tonight, won't, all those songs, Climb Every Mountain and stuff like that. And it just, we're doing hard work. Working men.
Schlepping around the working men clubs and things.
Anywhere is hard work, but it's very difficult because basically, especially the ones somewhere further up north, they wanted bingo and thing, and they weren't interested in the turns. not the flying kind.
You mustn't interrupt the bingo, Peter. It's outrageous.
No, if you're not quiet for turn, you won't get bingo. That was the threat.
I went to university up in Durham, and part of my spare time I used to compare at a lot of those clubs. So I know exactly. But as part of it, you have to call the bingo, and it's like a religion, isn't it?
Absolutely. So it was fantastic, and I learned a lot. And to cut a long story short, I was in Wales doing a club down there, and David phoned up and he said, "There's a show that's coming into the West End, and I put you up to audition for it." And I auditioned 9 times.
Right, 9 times.
9 times, and I got it. I got Hair eventually. So, and that's the first show I ever did.
And that really was the change for your life. I mean, in 1968, playing the lead role, Hud, in the original production of Hair. Was that then the catalyst? Did work just suddenly flood in?
Well, so bits came in. I stayed there for 18 months, which was great, but it was a great learning curve because the director is American director, Tom O'Hogan, and he taught me and taught us all a lot of stuff. He was very, very clever, and you at that stage you just learn a lot. And it was, theatre was changed. Hair changed theatre, in my opinion, in terms of especially the musical, because it was rock. became rock and roll. There's a band on stage, 9-piece band on stage, microphones with leads and things, which it had never been done before. On Broadway, yes, because of that was it's, and then we in London, that was the next production.
Quite extraordinary. And then you did, obviously, you went on to you did Tommy. You have that Rocky Horror Show, the Rat Pack, Phantom. Did you have a favorite amongst all of those?
Very difficult. I think Hair was probably the favorite because it was the first one of its kind. It's the first show I'd ever done like that. Probably Ken Hill's original, as it called, Ken Hill's original Phantom of the Opera was one of my favorites because it was so outside the box for me to do. And he didn't give a monkey's. He just said, he did say to me, he was very funny. He said to me, you don't want to do this show because it's not a you're not seen very much. It's a very, what do you call it? He said, it's a lot of lurking acting, he said to do. And I said, well, that's perfect. I said, I'm playing the title role. So that's what it was about. So that's what we did. So, and it was great. I had the best time doing that. It's a proper melodrama, the way it's run, because Ken's difference to Andrew Lloyd Webber's version, in Ken used original arias from operas, Offenbach, Gounod, and stuff like that. And he put his own words to it. And so it was, and he has this great sense of the ridiculous. And so it was, yeah. So it was wonderful from high drama to comedy in the next minute. You know, when for instance I lose my temper and I throw the man selling birdseed off the top of the opera house in Paris, and he goes, and I lift him up and I throw him around and I throw him over the yeah. So and I love all of that. So I had a good time. We toured Great Britain for about 18 months. Then we came to the West End, to the Shaftesbury Theatre, yeah, where I did Hair. So it was a lovely turnaround, and we were there for 6 months, and I went and played it in Japan. I'd always wanted to go to Japan, and go to Japan when you're working. It's fantastic. They really are so lovely, respectful, and just fantastic. And I learned, and I've lost count of how many times I've been to Japan.
Wow. It's a glorious place, as you say. I had the pleasure of working with Fuji Television for many years, who's the equivalent of ITV over in Japan, working with Formula One and various properties. And you're right, it's a wonderful culture, isn't it? Where they
either like it or you don't. And I loved it, and I love it. There's some certain things, like with everything, that's infuriating, but none of us are perfect.
What do you find infuriating?
The fact they could never say no.
In fact, there was that book, wasn't there? The Japanese Businessman Who Dared to Say No. I think there was. It's a brilliant idea, because
it's a brilliant idea. I mean, because they don't want to. They don't want to disappoint you. So yeah, hey, and you go, oh, that's all right. We're going to go, and then you find it doesn't happen. But that's my own, and that's a tiny. Because yes, the hospitality and just great. I love Japan.
Oh, fantastic. Whereabouts in Japan did you travel?
We traveled. The company traveled all over Japan. We did an extensive tour for nearly 2.5 months, 3 months, all little places on North Island, South, all in the middle and everything, and mostly. And then we did some other shows in Tokyo, mainly Osaka, and. Yeah, those are the main ones. Yeah.
And did you have a chance to go and see some of the other theatres there? I mean, Kabuki and so on.
Did a lot of Kabuki. I saw, which I loved, and I also fell in love with. I was aware of it, was sumo wrestling.
Right.
The ritual and everything. I just love it. And some of the sumos, two of the, and I can't remember their names now. It was ages ago. They came to see our show. They're like gods out there.
Oh, absolutely. And
they arrive in the, and it's just, and no, it's lovely. I love it.
It's quite extraordinary, and it's putting things in perspective, but it's that sense of the theatrical, isn't it? And I think a lot of your life has been that sort of wonderful, different, the diversity, if you like, because you go from pantomime to comedy to the classics as well, don't you? Talk to me about some of the classical roles you played. I mean, Cassius in Julius Caesar you did at Bristol Old Vic, and a number of others as well. Lucio, I think, in Measure for Measure at the National Theatre. Tell me about that sort of side. Did you enjoy that as well?
I loved it. I wanted to be an actor, but you see, it was just, it's been ups and downs. I love Lucio. Michael Rudman, the great Michael Rudman, directed it. And he put together like say a West Indian cast with with an English cast. So you got the people who were the administrators, the people who were like the civil servants, dealing with this sort of mad group of people. And Lucio was wonderful. I had a wonderful time doing that, and and that was at the National Theatre, which was great fun. And actually, it's a great story, by the way, because I think I've said this before, but Stevie Wonder came to see it. And he was a great friend of Cher Cameron's, who was a friend of mine. And then I can say we became quite friendly, Stevie Wonder and I. And he that night, the National Theatre, because he was there, they had a party for us, a small party in the foyer at the Littleton Theatre. And he just got on the piano and made up this song called Measure for Measure. And it was wonderful. So that was great. And then subsequently, I met him 2 or 3 years later, and I didn't think he would remember me, but he remembered exactly who I was. And I knew he was genuine because nobody had told him. And so that was good. And I went to see some of his shows and a couple of parties with him, and it was lovely. He was a very nice man. Yeah. And then we did Cassius at the Young Vic, at the Old Vic rather, in Bristol, yes. In Bristol, with Roger Rees directing it. And so I enjoyed it. Yes. And a Capulet later on with the Bill Bryden directing it. Yeah. So I wish I could have done more. I just didn't. I wasn't asked to do it. So there you are.
It's one of those sort of professions where you need to have that diversity, don't you? I mean, and you are the epitome of diversity. You also had your dabblings with the chart back then in 1972 with The Spirit is Willing, which was, so I was listening to that. That was great. But you had that sort of tagline as well. What was it? The Hand of Dr. Telleny. What was that about?
I don't know. I think they just made it up. It was Zach Lawrence did the orchestration and everything, and Howard and Blakely put it all together because they directed it. They produced it, and we never found out about the Hands of Dr. Telleny because I was working at the time, and I just did it to this track, and it did very well.
Oh, no, so, absolutely, it was top 40. It was there for 4 weeks. Come on.
I know. So that was all right. So yes, flirting.
We love all that sort of stuff. And then you got involved with TV and film. Talk to me. You did Girl Boy in 1972. How did that one come about?
That was I went just before I went to Norway to do hair because they didn't have very many black people in Norway. They had one only. And he was this was in 1971, 72, and he was a hairdresser. And a lovely man, and he died a couple of years ago. God bless him. And so they imported one or two of us. My friend from Scotland, Yasmin, it was the first show she'd ever done, and I came over and I signed up for 3 months to do it at the National Theatre in Bergen, and that was an eye opener. Because I said I'd never do hair again, but I did. It was a good deal. I couldn't resist a deal, and it was lovely. And I was able to come back to London every weekend. I've lost you. I've lost his.
Oh, I'm still here. I can still see you. Hello, I'm back.
You're back. I've seen you.
So you like magic. We sort of disappeared. We're back again.
So yeah, that did it, and I just had the best time out there redoing it. And then, but that's right. So just before I did it, I did a concert at one of those Mayfair Hotel.
Right.
And Carol Brahms with Ned Sherrin came to see the show with a lot of other people. And then they called my agent, my manager at the time, and said they wanted to see me to audition for Girl Stroke Boy. They didn't tell me what it was, but I was then rehearsing in Norway. But I used to come back every weekend. I used to fly back Sunday morning and go back in the afternoon on Monday. You could do all that those days without too much trouble with the insurances and things.
Right.
So and then I came in and I remember coming in, it's very glamorous, and had breakfast at the Connaught Hotel with Ned Sherrin. And then we were whisked to somewhere to do a scene, a screen test, I suppose is what they used to call it then in those days. And Bob Kellett directed it, and I got the role. So I just said yes. And very kindly, the Norwegians were great because the filming started before my contract ended, and they said all I had to do was make sure I came back for the very last night.
Ah.
So everybody, the film company over here, they said, okay, well, you can go. And I went over for 2 or 3 days, and we went, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
And how was the very last night in Norway?
It was exceptional. It was extraordinary. It was just, it was wonderful. It's proper theatre, you know, all the, and no, it was great. It was just wonderful. It was great.
Sorry, how does it go?
No, it was wonderful. It's good to, because I've still some of my pals are good friends from Norway still.
Fantastic, as you say, the diversity, and actually the Norwegians and the Japanese are very different, but that's the night of audiences, isn't it?
Certainly. The last time I was in Norway, not in Norway, in Japan, I think was 2013. And one of the guys who was in Hair, he and his wife, they came and spent Christmas with me in Japan, because they wanted to go and see Japan anyway. And then they went down to the rest of Asia, and it was just fantastic. And actually, now you remember, yes, that was it. Yeah.
Extraordinary time. And then Doctor Who, come on, had such a brilliant series. How did that come about?
They asked me to do it. I mean, I was lucky. Sometimes I wasn't asked to do anything, and it was really like pushing against a barrier, because it was impossible. A lot of people. I had a lot of problems when I was young. I still have problems now. No, about what was I an actor? Was I a musician? Was I a singer? And I just go, no, I'm an artist. This is what I do, please. And so pigeonholes and color problems, which exist, and they still exist. And people just go, well, you're not black enough, and you're not white enough, and you're not this. It's just the way it is viewed. And sometimes you're just put to the side. Very nice. The English have this wonderful way of saying how wonderful you are, but they never use you. They say, oh, you're fantastic, you're wonderful. They never use it. You just go quiet yourself. That's what you do. And sometimes you fight, sometimes you're very despondent, sometimes it's very despairing. And you just think, that's the way cookie crumbles. Just get on with it or get out. So I've thought of getting out a few times, but I haven't. I couldn't think of anything else to do. So I've just sort of hung in there, really.
Right. So, and you're right, because a lot of people in the profession, and as you say, there are different challenges for others as well, is that you have to have that diversity in terms of the roles that you play, the serious, the pantomime, the
that interests most artists, I think. To be honest, I don't think, from that point of view, I don't think I'm unusual. Most people like to just go from to be, just give me the role, I'll play it.
Right. So Doctor Who, how did the call come about, or you just went up for it?
No, they phoned and they asked me if I'd be interested in doing a role, and I went to see the director, and he just said, "Do you want it?" I said, "Yes, we'll do it." Yeah. In those days, nowadays to get any role, it's a committee.
It's like roles in Japan. You had to have a.
Oh, it's a blooming committee to go and get anything today now. There's the accountants standing. You just go in there, you think, oh my God.
But
Anyway,
you said to get the role of Hud, you had to have 9 auditions. I mean,
I had 9 auditions. Well, that's the first time we were aware in England because the Americans did that. So that whole new system came in, and the Americans were there. The 3 writers were there. The choreographer was there. I mean, that was another. But after that, it wasn't. It didn't seem so bad. You just see 1 or 2 people because anyway, it's. I think things change all the time.
Oh, no,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm going to be really polite and say things change all the time. Thank goodness.
Yeah, well, yes, I think that's right. So your time on Doctor Who, did you have a favourite moment?
The whole thing. I just loved the whole thing. And I got to the favorite time was I got to meet the wonderful Mr. Baker, Tom Baker, who was just wonderful. And I think we got on very well because after we did our first day filming or something, or no filming, and we went in, I said, we went back to the hotel and stuff. And he said, who is for the bar? And I said, I am. And we were both in the bar straight away, him and Lalla Ward. And Suzanne Daniel was in the show as well, and Tony Asoba. It was great. And it was wonderful. It was just all right. It was.
I mean, it was glory. I would be watching behind the settee and sort of hands like this, I think, for Doctor Who. It was one of those sort of glorious moments, and with the Daleks and things like that was brilliant.
Yes. We worked with the Daleks, yes, because I was also I was a cyber sort of person because I got killed in the end. I lost my arm and something, I don't know, because I appeared to be human and I wasn't. It was an impersonation, the way they wrote it. And I remember being clad in white things with a heavy silver wig hanging down, like yeah. And I haven't got any of those clothes. I could never get into the clothes. The wig I could put, but I lent the wig to a friend of mine and never saw it again.
Oh no!
He gave it away to various different people, and anyway, that's what can you say?
Anybody who turns up at the party in that silver wig, you'll know it's them.
But it's too late now. I should think it's probably rusted.
Yes, I mean, that's the true thing. I guess the Cybermen are probably all rusted now.
Oh yes, I think we're dead anyway. I know it was yes. Yeah, I played Commander Cheryl in Destiny of the Daleks. That's what I did, 4 episodes. Yeah.
Yes, and as you say, the reveal at the end for people who haven't seen that now is yes, you're not quite what you seem.
Right. Yes.
And you also worked in Connie with Stephanie Beecham. How was that time?
That was wonderful. That was I learned a great deal. The great as I remember, Ron Hutchinson wrote the script for that, and there were 13 episodes of Connie, and I was meant to have my demise in about the 5th episode, and they decided that they liked what I was doing, so they wrote me right through to the end.
Hey.
It was wonderful, great time, because the lovely Pam Ferris was there as well, and she and we got on so well. And Stephanie and I, we're still friends. It was her birthday the other day, and we spoke. And she's in Spain at the moment. So that was wonderful. Richard Morant, and I mean, it was a great cast, a wonderful cast, and I just had the best time.
And it really shows on the screen when a cast gels and gets on so well. As you know, a lot of these people are still chums and things like that for a long time. It shows on screen, doesn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I hope so. I don't know. No, we did get on all right. Yeah, we did get on very, very well. We had great times. Wonderful.
And then Morons in Outer Space.
Oh, blimey, you've got them. You found them, haven't you? I've forgotten about that.
Oh, I do my research, Peter. It's got to be good.
Morons from Outer Space. Mel and Griff.
Yes, absolutely.
Mel Smith and Griff Rhys-Jones. Yeah, well, I was very friendly with Mel at this time, and Griff. I knew him quite well as well. And I was doing stuff with Mel. He was writing shows for me and putting music, and he loved music, and we did some stuff. And Peter Brewis, who was like on my first album, was the musical director on the first album. He worked a lot with Mel Smith as well. And they came up with this thing, and I think between them, I don't know, they just said, why don't we have Straker doing the playing the preacher, the thing, and singing the Pod Jewel of Love. I think it's called The Pod You Will Have Loved. Don't ask me anything more about it. But that was good fun. That was
it is, and again, it's so infectious. I think it's that slightly off, if you like, sort of humor, sort of the slightly sort of diverse and slightly bizarre is really appealing, isn't it?
Well, we are from outer space, morons from outer space. Come on, crikey, and you have
anywhere are pretty good, aren't they?
yes, yes, playing them more, and the choir, yes, The Pod You Will Have Loved. You just reminded me. I must look it up and find it. Yes. The Pod You Will Have Loved. Will you remind me about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Dylan.
Get them all the research is fantastic. And talking about lots of the career in parallel, you're doing TV, you're doing theatre, you're doing film, you've got your recordings. Work with the Alan Parsons project as well. Talk to me about iRobot.
iRobot came again. That just happened. They liked my voice when I heard it when I was recording and stuff. And Eric, who looked after Alan, they phoned up my agents, my manager, and just said, would he do this? And I said, well, yes, please.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, the answer was yes. I mean, well, I loved some of the music and stuff that I'd heard. And I just thought, why not? And it was lovely. It's great. And it gave me an opportunity. We recorded all the stuff they did. We recorded it at Abbey Road. In the big studio.
Walking distance from you.
In the big studio. And it was wonderful. Very late one night because I was doing another show somewhere and I could only get there for 12 o'clock at night. So we worked right up to 4 or 5 in the morning. And it was lovely. Yeah. And apparently it's been played now on the iRobot film, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It's fantastic.
Oh yes. So there you go.
And it's glorious working in those big studios and things like that. In the meantime, you're also doing lots of your live shows and things like that. And you had the new translation, La Cage au Vol, with Simon Callow and his interpretation of that.
Yes, he did the interpretation. That's last year, and we were stopped about now.
Yes,
like everybody else, everybody was stopped. So we're in the middle of doing that. That's at Park Theatre. And that was rather sad because it was doing so well and it was just wonderful and it was great. I enjoyed it very, very much. It was great fun, great fun.
And everybody's trying to make their way back to performing live again, and it is quite extraordinary. But one of the characters, and your life is punctuated with glorious characters. You mentioned Kenny Everett. Your relationship with Freddie Mercury is also wonderful. Tell me how you first met Freddie.
We met each other in a restaurant in the Fulham Road. I was with my manager, David Evans, and he was with John Reed, and they were just leaving and we were just sitting down to the first course and they knew each other. So we just introduced and that was how we met. And then subsequently we met each other in various restaurants and turning up with various people that we all knew. And then we became pals. I invited him to a birthday party I had and he turned up and he's very shy. And he said, I'm going to come in for the first, I'll come in for the first bit before too many people are there, and then I'm going to go. So that was lovely. And he came in and he brought me a Nebuchadnezzar bottle of champagne. And that was his birthday present to me. And we got on ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have a party every day. It's glorious.
Yes, so, and that's how we got on. And then subsequently I asked him if he would, I wanted to make another record because I'd made an album with Howard and Blakely called Private Parts for RCA Records. And I was making singles in between and all of that. And then I'd been to see Queen perform and stuff. And he just said, yes, okay. But he said, we're not the most popular band at the moment because punk is here. And with all that punk stuff and everything, it was very, as you know, just so basic and all this grandeur and things. And of course, I like theatricality and grandeur. So I said, well, so we got John did broker the deal with EMI Records and Rocket Records. And then, so I did those 3 albums together between 1974 or 5 and 1980, something like that, which was great, which I did with my own band and stuff. And we were lucky in that I was allowed to do what I wanted to do within reason. And when I talked to Freddie, he said, the stuff you're doing, just do it. It's eclectic. Nobody is doing anything like that. And just do it. And we did it. Some of it worked. Some of it didn't work in England. It worked in Europe. But nobody didn't work in England at all. But I'm quite proud of it now that the 3 album has been re-released last year. And a few people, younger people, have heard it and they like it, and they're beginning to buy it and stuff like that.
Oh, and they're buying it in their droves, and as we say, late night taxi dances tearing up the charts, which is
yes, it seems to be. I hope it keeps going.
Oh no, definitely keep going. But your stuff with Freddie, I mean, you worked on Barcelona with him as well, and also backing vocals on The Great Pretender. How were those experiences?
They were great. I mean, because we were very good, we were very close pals. So a lot of stuff that he was doing, I knew about. And he, with Barcelona, obviously he worked with Mike Moran, which was on our new mic as well. And I got to know him very, very well because Mike worked on, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the show. It's gone out of my head, so don't, because I'm like, my brain goes. And Time was the show. Time with Cliff Richard.
Yes, Cliff Richard. Yeah, just around the corner from us, walking distance.
At the Dominion Theatre, and with the globe of Laurence Olivier in yeah. And I worked on Time as well a bit because I was understudy for 6 weeks doing something while I was doing another show at Sadler's Wells. Because Dave Clark asked me, just in case the American guy couldn't do it because he was working somewhere else. It was all of that. So we just fitted in with each other. That's all. So and that's when Freddie was doing Time and stuff. I was in the studio a lot with him, and we're just doing bits and pieces. And then he asked if we would do Barcelona, because then Carol Woods, I was doing a show called Blues in the Night, and Carol Woods from America, great singer. She was on it, Madeleine Bell, Debbie Bishop, Lance Ellington. We all did a lot of backup. Yeah, you're reminding me, things coming back to me, yes.
It's all coming back. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? And because it was then, because he did things so differently as well, Freddie. I mean, he was a wonderful creative force. And I think you said previously that he would start a song with the title, wouldn't he? He'd say, look, work out the title and go.
So a lot of the times he'd come up with an idea, and he said, he used to go, so the title is the thing, really. And it makes sense, doesn't it? You know, We Are the Champions. It's a good title.
Great title. It's a good start.
That's one of the, and people say these things all the time, but they don't write a song about them.
Yeah.
So that's good. So yeah, so that's and we just became very good pals. And I'm very happy to say that we were good pals. And here's to him. Cheers.
No, absolutely. Is that still from the big bottle you left? Is that the last bit you left?
No, that would be death. My friend, refill my glass.
Yeah,
one more and I would go. Yep. Yes, please. Yep. Go
on. What's your happiest memory of Freddie?
I don't think in happiness or like that. Just so many times, so many wonderful times that we had going. Just many silly times, really. Sitting down at nights, late at nights, playing Trivial Pursuit. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we'd all get into Trivial Pursuit. Everybody would get very competitive, especially after a few drinks.
Right. Who would normally win?
It was quite equal, actually, with us, because I mean there were 3 or 4 of us all playing in groups, because if there's 6 or 7 of you, you know, that's a fantastic. So those are great times, traveling sometimes with him, going to great parties that he had in Ibiza for and for the Montserrat thing when they did Barcelona there before the Barcelona. Yeah, so there are lots of times. I can't think of any one particular. Christmases were good fun, and really happy times, very happy memories.
And as you say, I mean, because he was such a wonderful character, and obviously within the showbiz community, you had, and performers as well, you attract lots of other wonderful characters. Kenny Everett, you've mentioned, David Bowie, you've got obviously Elton John, all of those sort of connections as well. How did Freddie introduce you to those, or were you?
I knew Elton before Freddie, actually,
Okay.
because I met him because John was managing him at the time. I remember going to a fantastic concert in at Wembley Stadium with the Beach Boys, which Elton did, which was just a great concert. Spending all day out there, and the sun was shining. It was hot. One of the hot days in one of the hot days in England. I met David Bowie. David Bowie had signed with RCA Records, and I signed just after. Too late. All the budget went on Bowie.
Oh no!
Oh no, it was a fact. You know, everything else was just like throwing on the wall. But that's life. And we met up again when I was doing Tommy in the West End in 1979. And David came to see the show a couple of times, and we came backstage, and we started just to hang out a lot because he was here. And that was, so and then everybody knows each other, so we all meet up because Freddie was around as well, and Tommy, and all of that. So we'd all meet up for dinners afterwards, or come to this house or that house. You know, did
you all play Trivial Pursuit? Was there a night when you had Bowie and Elton and Freddie and you playing Trivial Pursuit?
No, not altogether. No.
Make it up for the story, as I say. Don't let it stand in the way of a good story. There was that wonderful night. You fought over the purple cheese.
I can't. I'm not very good at lying, because if I'm caught out, then I'm in real dead trouble afterwards. Oh God.
Well, one of the things, I mean, they're doing all these documentaries now. We had and great, and some of them about they say a little bit of artistic license. What did you make of the Bohemian Rhapsody? Was that a fair representation of Freddie?
I don't know. It wasn't about Freddie. It was about Queen.
But Freddie was in it.
Yes, he was in it, but no. I look at that as a biopic about the band. I do not take. I genuinely. It's just interesting. I happen to know Freddie. I knew the band as well, but I not about their early lives. I learned a lot about things, and it's just about. It's just a biopic about how they started, how they worked out, and what happened. It only went up to a certain point anyway in their lives, and it was all right. I find it very entertaining, and I love the music in it, which I always did. I thought the actors were very good in the parts, and I won't. I can't be drawn on that because I genuinely didn't know. It's much more about the band, the interweaving of how they and how they saw it, and I didn't know the band that well in the early days. I don't forget, I met them all when Bohemian Rhapsody was a hit. This is all before, and anything else I can only comment like as a third party, and I was not there.
Oh, no, I get it. I get it. But two of the key characters, apparently, for the release of Bohemian Rhapsody in the film, they say it's 6 minutes. It's far too long. But Kenny Everett played it because Freddie was in. Was that true?
I think so. Yes, he played it a lot. Yes. He played a lot because there weren't very many six. I mean, another record which I loved is Eloise.
Right.
That went on for some time, didn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely.
5 or 6. That went on for some time.
But great.
I've always wanted to re-record that, but I spoke with Barry Ryan about it. But anyway, that's another thing. So no. So I loved the biopic. I thought it was good fun.
Yeah, and Elton's biopic, Rocket Man. What did you think of that?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
Not for any reason. Not for any reason. I don't go to. I haven't seen it, but I will see it.
Yeah, no, all interesting stuff. And you say about diverse music. You want to do Eloise, you want to do this sort of stuff. Tell me about your love of Brel and that sort of side, Jacques.
Oh, Jacques. God, I learned about Monsieur Brel.
It has to be Monsieur, doesn't it? It has to be. And with a slight cold, it sounds even better.
Yes, Monsieur Brel. As opposed to Monsieur Brel. no, I don't. But but because a lot of people say, oh, that Jacques Braille, and I go, no,
Jacques
no, no.
Braille.
Yes, what it says. That's why I'm going like this. Anyway, I heard some of his music when I was about 20, 21, 20, and I just fell in love with his interpretation of lyrics, words. Didn't quite know what they meant, but it touched something there. Is so passionate, just great passion, and I fell in love. I just fell in love with that way and then I listened to some of the interpretations and stuff, and I loved it. And I just loved it. He's a poet. He's almost like the Belgium, and he became French, but because he was born in Belgium, a version of Bob Dylan, really.
Right.
That sort of he saw things as anti-war and just so wonderful, and yes, I empathize with him so much. He's lush, lewd, rude, vulgar, feeling, heart, love, having great love stories and passion. Yeah. That's
that music that tells a tale, isn't it?
Yes,
Wow, glorious voice.
Yep.
Oh, wonderful stuff. So you've got your back catalogue, the solo albums, all that sort of stuff. Your 3 CD set, and that's going like hotcakes, as they say.
Apparently, it's doing very well, and that was the idea of doing late night taxi dancer. So we're just trying to encourage people to go out and buy those even more, because it's been doing very well. It was released about this time last year, in lockdown. Because I was hoping, like everybody else, to do shows to promote it, like every other artist. So I can't go on about it because every artist has had the same problem.
Yeah. And have people started approaching you for shows again now? Is that?
We're talking about a few things, but again, we won't be drawn in anything yet because there's no guarantee at the moment, anything. And listen, I'm not one of the sort of huge sort of box office star. I'm not putting myself down, but I'm not like, that they're going to hang and you can keep changing. You've got to be careful. You've got to be careful. I can't say we're going to do something in June and it could be pulled. So it's softly.
And I appreciate you've got to do that. And a lot of artists who have been on the show talk about they do their Zoom shows. Are you tempted to do stuff, the virtual shows?
Yes, we're talking about one now. Talking about it now, and we're just trying to see if we can get some backers to do it or something. Well, we're just discussing it. We're in the middle of discussing it now to see if we can do something in the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Oh, good heavens! There you go.
To record it. To actually film it and record it and then put it out. So we are talking. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. It all De Niro.
Oh, yeah, well, that's everybody, when they watch this and realize what a huge talent you are, they'll be flooded. The money will just keep rolling in, more champagne.
Please do. Okay.
Glorious. Finally, the 3 final things is what has been, such a wonderful, rich career. Have you any big regrets?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Well, that's good.
It's all happened the way it has, and that's the way it is. To regret, it's no. There are things I might have done slightly differently, possibly, and I can't think of anything specific, but nothing really.
What advice would you give to a young Peter Straker looking back on your career?
The only advice I would give myself is maybe not to have given up the piano.
Okay.
Music is great, and if you've got, and I was doing quite well on the piano, and then I stopped playing, and then I just got sidetracked, and but it's not a regret. I'm just sorry I didn't carry on with it.
Will you take it up again?
I don't think so.
You were doing the braille on it earlier.
Yes, I don't think. No, I tell you what. I broke 2 fingers.
Oh no! How did you do that?
I was at a wedding in Italy, and I fell into it was outside in the middle of the night, and it was on the grass, and there was a pothole, and I went down and put my hands down. I didn't even realize I'd broken them, but they were. So
in Greece they break plates. In Italy you break fingers.
I break my fingers, my hand. Yes.
That's not so good. Well, okay, proudest moment then. What's been your proudest moment?
Oh my goodness. Do you know, Andrew, I'm so dull that I don't think of things like that. I know things that I've enjoyed, like as I said much earlier in an interview, doing Phantom of the Opera, but I wouldn't say it's my proudest moment. I think it's just things that I've enjoyed, and at the time that's it. I don't have a proud moment. I don't have a proud Mary.
Well, she'll be along later. But I think what it is those little, if you punctuate your life with glorious highlights, it can be something really small, as you say, like getting a big bottle for your birthday, or playing Trivial Pursuit, or getting the role of HUD, or having that top 40 hit. All of those things are glorious.
Recently, I suppose one of the things I really, really enjoyed, actually, you've just said, and that's about 3 years ago. We did Kerry Michael, the director from the Theatre Royal Stratford East, when he was the artistic director there. They were doing a show which toured of Tommy, a different version, which they were doing an inclusive version with people who were disabled, partially blind, partially sighted. And Tommy, the boy who played Tommy Will, he was deaf and dumb, and it was like a chorus singing the songs. And it's a big cast, and people in wheelchairs, and it was just wonderful. And Kerry asked me, he wanted me to be in it because I'd been in the original one. And he offered me, and then always said to me, will you play the Acid Queen? And I went, yes, because that's out of my comfort zone. So I really enjoyed that. That was great. And Pete Townshend came to see it because we'd been talking about things, and he wrote me a new song for me for the show as well. And that was great. And that was wonderful time having and singing that iconic song, which Tina Turner did, and many other people did, and just having the joy of just singing that song. And that was a good time just recently, yes.
And it's always about pushing yourself, isn't it? And getting out of that comfort zone and doing something which people may not associate with you. I think that's
yes.
Well, and finally, Peter, how would you like to be remembered?
I've never thought about that. There's the line of a song, remember me as a good thing you nearly had along the way. I don't know. That's just silliness. I don't know. I have no idea. I just want to remember to be doing things that people enjoyed, and it gave them, and they think, oh God, that's good. We like that. Never thought of that. Yeah. I haven't thought about that. That's much too indulgent.
But indulgence is good. We like a bit of indulgence.
I like indulgence, but yes, but not not that publicly.
Fantastic. Late night taxi driver. I answer. Taxi driver. That's Uber. Late night taxi dancer. I love it. Peter,
2020.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
So thank you again to the wonderful Peter Straker for joining me. Do look out for Late Night Taxi Dancer. If you don't have your copy, go and get it now. Download it, usual sort of places. And a joy of a song it is too. Anyway, if you have any comments or you'd like to be a guest on the show, write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. You can follow me at Andrew Eborn, at octopustv, and subscribe on all of the usual channels. But for me, for now, thanks very much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.